Hello everybody. Today's deck, I will still mill. We have moved on from the Shrine series and moved into a sort of mill concept for a couple of videos. It's kind of a logical extension. I'd done the Ancient Shrine with the Mirror Box mill deck before, and I kind of revisited at the end of the Shrine series. And you can see those on the playlist easy enough, you can find it. And then we went down to look at Cut Your Losses and using Errant Street Artist to copy it with the Casualty mechanic. And that was kind of a fun deck. And then I was thinking, well, what's left? You know, I'd already used Screaming Swarm in another deck, so we weren't really getting millstones from Brothers War. That's they're giving them to us, but you can't use them in Modern Standard, I don't think. So we brought Lord Xander out. We're going to see what we can do with him. Experimenting with the deck here. Let's try Sataro. I gotta be honest, this has not been going well for the most part, but this is a way to get Xander out on turn 4, so this is kind of like the perfect opening for me. As long as he doesn't get bounced. Sataro gives everyone ninjutsu. My opponent, even if he has a way to bounce me, he's got to discard half the cards in his hand now. It's rounded down, so. Ooh, we lost Hullbreak of Horror and Sludge Monster and Careful Cultivation. Can we stop him from coming down again? No. So we attack, mill him for half of his cards, hit him for 6. And turn 6 kill. And opponent had 12 cards left. We'll just hit the damage and we will take the win. That's kind of like the... I don't know that I should show you any more matches. That was perfect. It doesn't get any better than that. That was the whole strategy of the deck right there. Which is funny because I've been getting killed up and down against aggro decks all day trying to get this right. Alright, let's go ahead and show you the deck. Here, Xander is the star of the show. 7 mana. From New Capenna. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent discards half the cards in their hand, rounded down. Whenever he attacks, defending player mills half their library, rounded down. And when he dies, target opponent sacrifices half the non-land permanents they control. Now, there's a neat trick to get him down earlier, and that's using this legendary planeswalker, Satoru Umezawa, because he gives everybody a ninjutsu ability. So the way that works is every creature in your hand suddenly has ninjutsu, and that means you can pay 4 and bring Satoru or any unblocked attacker up into your hand and replace them with a creature in your hand that's tapped and attacking. Now, the only thing that doesn't work, so to speak, is if you do the ninjutsu action on Xander and bring him down, the opponent will have to discard half the cards in their hand, but he won't mill on the first attack. Because notice the phrasing of the rules text, whenever Lord Xander attacks, that's whenever that first attack triggers at the beginning of the combat phase. When you bring him down with the ninjutsu, that part of the combat phase is already passed. The attack has already been declared. So he's brought in, considered tapped, and already having declared an attack. So he doesn't get to declare an attack when he comes into play through the ninjutsu mechanic. So just keep in mind, you can't have him mill at the very beginning, right? Not for the first attack that way. Not if you bring him back in that way. Okay, so that's 3 copies of him, 2 copies of him. That's generally not enough to make a whole deck around. So we do have Graveyard Shift, 3 copies, so we can bring Xander back from the graveyard onto the battlefield directly. And Brothers War card, No One Left Behind, that does the same thing. We have a lot of 3-drop cards, so if we don't have Xander in the graveyard, but they did kill like Vadrek or Sataro or one of our chump blockers, we could bring one of those back instead. I originally started with 8 resurrection cards to bring stuff out of the graveyard, and it was too many. I just have these burning holes in my hand, and I couldn't use them. So the rest of the deck, we've got Persistent Specimen for our chump blocker. We've got Undying Malice so that we can still bring a creature back if they try and kill one. We've got Defabricate that counters target artifact or enchantment. We've got Founding the Third Path. We could mill the opponent, or we could mill ourselves and try and get Xander back into the graveyard. It's kind of tough to do a blind mill that way. We could lose a lot of good cards. So I do have 1 copy of Reality Chip to look at the top card of my library anytime. If Reality Chip is out and we see that Xander's on the top and we don't have enough mana to just cast him, we could mill ourselves with Founding the Third Path, make sure to put him into the graveyard, and then we have access to these spells. If we somehow mill some of these spells, we can use the 3rd chapter to exile one of these and actually cast it from the graveyard to bring Xander back from the graveyard. So that's part of why I love this Enchantment Saga. We have 1 copy of Vengeful Strangler. I'm not sure if he should stay in there or not, but a lot of people just kill him, and that means I get to stick him on a creature. It does have to wait till your next upkeep, so they get a whole turn to use them, but then they have to sacrifice something. We have Balduvian Atrocity. I try and save it for the kicker if I can, so you can return a creature from the graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste, but you sacrifice it, so that's a nice way to get rid of the Strangler, right, in case they don't want to kill it. We've got Gruesome Realization. This is another Brothers War card. It gives you some nice flexibility. If you're under attack by a bunch of 1/1s, you can kill them, or if you're facing bigger stuff, you can draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. So I like the choice there. We've got 1 copy of Path of Peril, because there's just a ton of cheap creatures. Mana value 2 or less, you can destroy them all. If I need white mana, I do have the Celestis to give me a white source. I've got Uncharted Haven, which if I didn't need the other 3 colors more, I could make that white when I choose it to bring it down. And I do have 1 of these, Sunlit Marsh. So I do have access to a Plains as well that I can do. Okay, so next, we've got 4 copies of Soul Transfer, so we can exile target creature or Planeswalker. Although this is another spell that gives you an option, we could return target creature from the graveyard to your hand. So I technically do have, 8 spells in my deck that can do that kind of thing. But this isn't straight to graveyard. This just takes it to your hand. So important to know. 1 copy of Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. Chapter 2 is something a lot of players don't use. We're looking to use it in case we already have Xander in hand, but we can't afford to cast them. So we can discard him, draw cards, maybe draw the land we need, or draw the resurrection spell we need to bring him straight from the graveyard to the battlefield. So I've had 1 match where I started with 2 Xanders in my hand, opening hand, kept it, discarded both of them with Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, and got them back. So that was kind of cool. We went over Satera already. You saw him in the first match. We've got Vadrik Austral Archmage. This is a different way to bring Xander down on turn 4, okay? If we get, well, technically, if he's in the graveyard, right, we have a number of ways. We could, if he's in our hand, we can bring him down with Ninjutsu. If we have 5 mana and Graveyard Shift or no one left behind, we can bring him back on turn 5. If we were somehow able to cast the Celestis on turn 3 and play a land on turn 4, we would have 5 mana if Xander was already in our graveyard by turn 4. And we had Celestis, that would also work. Vadrik is the other way because Vadrik, instant and sorcery spells cost less. Even if his power is only 1, that would cost 1 less, so we could cast a Graveyard Shift on turn 4 and bring him back. So it's all based on, do we have him in the graveyard yet or not? And maybe I need better ways to search him out and get him up front earlier and discard him. I don't know. I've got 62 cards. Let's look at the distribution. I've got 25 lands, and average is 3.5 because he costs 7. So that's deceptive because we don't want to wait until it costs that much, right? We've got 1 drag to the bottom with domain. Each creature gets -X/-X. This is the newest card. This is the one change that I made to the deck recently, as well as adding 1 land, just because I felt like I needed another kind of board wipe. And here I could get, -3, -4 to them. And yeah, I just felt a little light on removal. We've got Ardent Elementalist, 1 copy. Enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. So if we've used a Soul Transfer, we could get it back if we need single removal. If we've used Path of Peril and we need it again, or say we need to get one of these graveyard shifts out of there in order to get Xander out. So that gives us another path, to Xander eventually. And Enthrall to the Pit is kind of in case they get out like Titan of Industry and then you got a big 7/7 creature that you can't get rid of. We could take control of it, and if we have enough mana, we can kick it and make it sacrifice itself at the beginning of the next end step. 2 copies of Burn Down the House for my other board wipes. And also one other Brothers War card, Gix's Command. This is a cycle. Each color, I think, has a command sorcery. You have 4 options. You can choose 2 of them. So I'm looking at the third one caught my eye at first. Return up to 2 creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. That was nice. But you can use, if you have one guy who's really powerful and the rest are not, you can use items 2 and 4 together to do a board wipe. Destroy each creature with power 2 or less, and then each opponent sacrifices a creature with the highest power among creatures they control. It might not work perfectly all the time, but I have already had a couple of times where I've done a board wipe with that. Next, we've got the very first choice. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on one target creature. It gains life leak until end of turn. That's good if they're playing like Besiege You and they already have a 6/6 or a 7/7 and you need to pump up Xander to be even more powerful. The rest is lands. I've got 1 Otawara to throw something back up, maybe get rid of a token, and 1 copy of Takenuma, so another way to get Xander back, right? Mill 3 cards and return a creature from your graveyard to your hand. What else do I have in here? 1 Field of Rune and 1 Plaza of Heroes, so we can exile it, and target legendary creature gains hexproof and indestructible. So a way to save and preserve Xander or Umezawa or Vadrik as we need them. So let me go in. We're going to do one more. I'm getting notified that dinner is really soon, so I might not be able to stick around for a really long time tonight. But we'll try and get through at least one more match to show off more of the deck. I won't be incredibly disappointed if I have to leave, because it really doesn't get better than that first match. Plus, I've been going up against a lot of werewolves and stuff, and white artifact, mini aggro. Oh, zombies. I haven't come across zombies in a while. Alright, tap land goes first. I don't really have a 2-drop play here. So I'll play Storm-Carved Coast left next, in case we get another land that we can save Otawara with in the next couple of draws. And this is like the perfect start for them. Undying Malice is not helpful to me. It's like out of every card in the deck, that one might be the least useful right now. Ooh, Cataball Fodder. Nice. Give me a black source, please. That's 6 points. We're not long for this world. There is a black source. Okay, so let's go ahead and take out... Yeah, doing a -1/-1 is not good enough. I think we have to take out the big one because he's just going to grow bigger. Thankfully, that was another 1/1. We're getting dangerously low on life already. I guess we should just keep adding land, and let's go ahead and do -1 to everybody. Was that enough to slow down the bleeding? He just returns a creature anyway. Great. I've got the cat bursting open a door on my left and my wife slamming the door on the right. Good times, good times. Alright, I guess we'll put down Plaza of Heroes. Let's go ahead and put you down. And we'll save Undying Malice in case they just have a removal spell on my Atrocity. That doesn't help me any, does it? Because he's going to be exiled. And he can afford that, and so I just die. That's a quick zombie deck for you. I did not get the right mix of cards. Zombies can be too quick. With that zombie champion and the legendary wizard, Jadar, yeah, we died. Okay, I'll give you another quick look at the deck. Sorry, this is going to be a short video series. I did want to show more, but I'm going to have hot food waiting for me, so I'm actually going to go. So, but that was kind of cool. We were able to demonstrate the ninjutsu trick with Lord Xander on turn 4. It's really beautiful when you can get it to pop off correctly. It's not quite as consistent as I want, so I'm trying to figure out if I need more removal or more like ways to discard, perhaps some red discard, draw cards, or perhaps some blue sorceries and instants to dig through my deck better. I'm going to keep this deck around and experiment with it, so you may see it again some other time if I'm able to make it a little bit more consistent, or do anything against, something like a quick zombie deck that'll just kill you as quick as you just saw. So remember to like and subscribe. This is Travis signing off from Tpull's Corner. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.